Hey guys, Mikko here once again. This is a really quick tutorial on how to mix IRs inside the XFX 3. Someone requested for this and I'm shooting this video, so if you have any questions about the XFX 3, just ask and I'll be happy to answer. So right now what I have going on here in the preset is actually not so many things, just the amp block, and I'm using the new Friedman HBE 2018. I really like this amp. You should try it out if you haven't. But today we'll be concentrating on the cap block, and for that reason I have all the stock settings here. I'm not gonna be using this EQ to modify the sound. I'm just gonna be using the IRs. And that's something that we kind of designed together with Matt from Fractal. He told me that the layout for the new cap block would be so that you have 4 IR slots. So the IR samples that you'll find from me, the ML IRs, like the PR75 here, you always have 4 mic options to choose from. So you can do something cool like this with each of the amps. So right now I'm blending together a 57, 121, 160 and a 906. Those are 4 different mics. Normally, I think everyone starts with the 57, or that's something that many people think is all that matters. So let's just roll off everything from here. So I'm just lowering the volume off from these IRs. Actually, you have the mute option here as well, but I'm not gonna use that one because I kind of want to show you how you can kind of EQ your sound with just the IRs, and that'll lead to a very natural sound. So right now you're just hearing the SM57. These are really low in the mix, so you shouldn't really be getting any interference from the other mics now. So the 57 on its own is a lot brighter, and that's really good for, you know, low-tuned guitars and kind of getting a super tight sound. However, the 57 IRs that I shoot are never too bright, so they should work on their own. They're designed to be used on their own as well. But right now we're concentrating on the mixing part. And for this cabinet, the PR75, which is actually a Marshall pre-roll, just the best cabinet ever to have existed, essentially. One of a kind cab for sure. So I chose the 57, 121, 160 and the 906 mics. They work the best with it. So I'll jump straight to blending in some of that 121. So you'll kind of hear what it's doing. It should be adding a lot more low end. For this, I actually recorded a loop of a riff that's awesome. So right there you kind of heard that the tone got immediately a lot fatter with just adding that one mic in. You get more of that woody tone, kind of that Marshall thing really. And if you really ask anyone about how you should mic a Marshall cabinet, they'll say a 57 and a 121. So that's kind of a very traditional way of miking a cabinet. But one mic that is very similar to the 121 is actually the 160. It's not as fat, it doesn't have that much low end, so it'll be kind of a more modern option to blend in. And then the 906 is also a dynamic mic, so it's actually pretty close to a 57. But if I blend in these together, you'll kind of hear the different versions of the same cabinet sound you can get just with these 4 IRs here. So let's play the same riff again. So when you blend in two of the dynamics, you'll kind of get this interesting sound. The two mics are essentially doing the same thing, but they're not the same mic. So you get more of the mids, you don't get that much more low end. You actually get a lot more mids, and that's really juicy and cool sounding as well. So right now I'm just blending in the two dynamic mics here. So it's the 57 and the 906. It's a really tight, modern, mid-bass tone. So that's kind of what I would probably blend in out of these. But that's just because I don't really play traditional rock. If I was doing like a really Marshall-y tone, I would definitely have the Voyeur in. It starts to sound a lot more like Marshall straight away, and that's just because we're used to hearing that kind of a sound out of a Marshall. So it's that 57 and a 121. Obviously what you can do here is put all of the mics in, and that should give us a monster tone. So yeah, it's actually a really cool fat sound. And kind of my tip for blending IRs is that it's really easy to go too far. And I think 4 mics is still okay. But you know, when you're not hearing the sound in a mixed context, you'll easily kind of start blending in too many IRs, and what you end up with is kind of very honky sound that doesn't necessarily cut too well in a mix. For that reason, I definitely want to remind people that, you know, the 57 on its own is really good. Like, for audio engineers, they'll love it. Just, it's so easy to make it fit in a mix. And it's super tight, but obviously adding these other mics that, by the way, sound pretty cool on their own as well. This is the Voyeur, and that's the 121 if you didn't know. The 160. So like I said, it's very similar to the 121, but not so much low end. And then the E906. And the 57. So they all sound really good on their own as well. If you blend them in together like this, it's awesome. Just gets a lot fatter with the other mics in, which is a good thing in many ways, but sometimes you'll find that you don't cut in the mix enough. So I kind of recommend sticking to maybe 2 IRs to blend in. 3 mics, obviously you can do something like this where you kind of maybe have 2 mics blended in most of the time and then lower these a little bit. Let's see how it sounds if I kind of fine-tune the balance between all the 4 IRs here and try and find like a really good mix. So it kind of doesn't make a huge difference when you kind of fine-tune these volumes, other than once I've had all the mics on, I felt like the 57 needed to be louder, so I guess I kind of dropped the volume on all of those. So now the tone that I have is like this. And that's how you get a really good sound. And remember, we're just using the IRs, and the amp block has default settings. Everything is set to noon. So with the power of this cap block and the IRs that are in here, you should have 4 IRs out of each of the cap packs that I've made. I mean, that's pretty much the most awesome thing ever. So you don't have to load anything in here. You just have them here, and you'll know that you always have the highest quality IRs available, no matter where you are, and it's really quick to make a really good guitar sound, and you don't have to tweak at all. This sound is ready for a mix. This sound is ready to be used live. And that's a guarantee. Thank you for watching the video, and subscribe and like, and I'll be posting a lot more videos about the Axe-FX 3 as I have already. Just shoot me some questions and I'll be sure to answer them. Okay, thanks a lot guys, and see you later. Bye.